Welcome to the 204th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome. Hope you're all doing very well. First and foremost, only 2 more days to buy your tickets to the 4th annual Charlotte County Plant-Based Nutrition Conference. This is going to be a great event. Dr. Alan Goldhamer from True North Health is going to be speaking on water fasting and also comparing it to intermittent fasting and also talking about his data with cancers. Eric O'Gray from Walking with Petey, or author of Walking with Petey, is also going to be there to share his motivational story on how he lost weight and transformed his health and life, and is now qualifying for the Boston Marathon right and left, and is entertaining the idea of doing an Ironman, so that'll be very inspirational. I'm going to be sharing the outcomes of my practice over the last year since going to a membership practice and the successes. And Addie is going to be talking about plant food, how it's just food, and people will come and say, well, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm on a kidney diet or a cancer diet or a diabetic diet or a blood pressure diet. Well, it's plant-based nutrition is for all of those illnesses, because what causes it actually reverses most lifestyle diseases. So we tweak it a little one way or another to emphasize the nutrients that'll help disease more. Such as an anti-inflammatory tilt or a low potassium tilt in the case of a renal diet, perhaps more antioxidants or more nitric oxide producing vegetables in the incidence of heart disease. So Addie's going to talk about all of those things. So it's going to be a great day. We're going to have a cooking demonstration, a question and answer. There's going to be a great breakfast and lunch that is sugar, oil, salt free. Very motivational day, very positive day. Can't wait for it. So again, get your tickets because we have to close out Wednesday. So seats are going fast. Go to drdulaney.com, DOCTORDULANEY.com. Click on the link to Eventbrite to get your tickets. Hurry, 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 hurry. I want to see you. I want to meet you there. It's going to be a great day. So questions come up in our nutrition class. We have 3 nutrition classes a week, and so I thought I would bring up, actually, someone in the class asked me to talk about this on the podcast. And the first was juicing or blending. And for the most part, I'm not a huge proponent of either. When I first went plant-based and I was running, I used smoothies as a way of hydration and a way of quick breakfast before I would go to work. I've since transitioned to I take those foods and put them in a bowl and eat them, as opposed to drink a smoothie. Do I make smoothies or do I juice on occasion? Yes. I like, and it's because of enjoyment, not because of nutrient. Juicing is going to get rid of most of the fiber, so it's going to be more of a clear liquid. The antioxidants, vitamins, and nutrients are still there, but it's going to have low fiber. In the case of fruit juices, you're going to have a bigger sugar elevation because there's not the fiber to slow down digestion, so we absorb liquids quicker than we absorb solids. But in the case of wanting to get more nutrients in a smaller volume, then, especially in people that can't take in a lot, then juicing does have some benefits. But I will say that fruit juicing probably doesn't have much in the way of benefits unless somebody is doing it merely for hydration and they have no problem with calories and no problem with diabetes. So that leaves us with smoothies, and we know because we need to have a time exposure of the nitric oxide potential of greens with our bacteria in our tongue and the amylase in our saliva, that a smoothie is not going to have the first pass nitric oxide boost that chewing your greens will have. So that decreases the nitric oxide potential of blending greens in a smoothie. On the other hand, If that's the only way you can get greens in somebody, and we're trying to get the other antioxidants and phytochemicals and nutrients in those people, then by all means do the smoothie. It's when people start adding all these other protein powders and maple syrup and excessive and peanut butters that they just get this high calorie dessert as opposed to a drink that we're really looking for specific nutrients. You know, another exception is somebody coming back from a surgery or somebody that can't take in much in the way of food. Then you can really pack in calories and pack in nutrients. And, you know, a smoothie would be so much better than these chemical drinks such as Ensure and Glycerna and all these other drinks that just are full of artificial substances, ingredients, and sugars. So there's a role for everything, but it's not the, be it all, end all to everything. So number one, if you can consume calories and you're getting enough calories in, by all means, eat your food, chew them, enjoy them. I know when we get really great mangoes, and here lately I've had yellow dragon fruits that have just been delicious. It's kind of a sin to juice those or blend them and have them go down or be mixed with something and get to enjoy each bite of them and savor them. It's like juicing, I guess in the old days, if somebody really liked, a steak or something and juicing it rather than sitting there and chewing it and savoring it and appreciating it. So I think that we get caught up in a world where we just want to get our calories in and go, but it doesn't hold you. So then people are going to the bars and the snacks and all this other kind of stuff. So more often than not, juicing and blending just result in excessive calories that people don't need. So I hope that helps. I will tell you that this weekend we did about 4 hours straight of yard work down here in Florida, digging up some raised beds, trimming lemongrass and hedges, and it was hot, and we didn't want to take time to come in and stop for lunch. We were dirty and sweaty. And I came in and washed off and made us a big fruit smoothie. And so we used it for hydration until we came in, and then, we came in and had dinner. So it was somewhat of a meal replacement, but for the most part, it was, we used it as hydration and electrolytes, getting the potassium and the sodium and antioxidants and nutrients while we were working out in the yard. So use it as a tool accordingly, but for the most part, try to enjoy your nutrient intake. Getting back to the conference, I was reviewing data and permission from multiple members on their success stories, and it made me stop and pause and be so grateful for all the good things that have happened over the last year and the number of people that have had success. They've done a really, really good job. I commend them. I can't wait to celebrate with them this Saturday. Most of them do not know that they'll be part of the talk or the people that I did select. There was so many to choose from. I had to finally stop and make a decision. But, it's the first time in my career that I've had success stories. I've had stories where people do okay and they don't have any more chest pain or they don't have heart attacks and they're doing well on their medications. But I've never had success stories where one after the other people got their weight under control, their diabetes under control, their blood pressure under control, and it went away and they got off medications. I've stopped more medications in the last year than I ever have in my entire practice. So it's I can't wait to celebrate some of this news with people. As far as training, on track for the Mendocino Ultra the middle of April. So I'm doing the reverse taper. We did the Asheville half and whole marathon, and now starting to build back up to maintain strength, hopefully get a little bit more, and anxious to see if I can do a little bit better and perhaps a little bit faster at the Asheville or at the Mendocino Marathon. I'm hoping at least to stay on my feet and not take the tumble, but we'll see how that goes. It's a beautiful area and beautiful scenery for the run, so looking forward to getting away. As I said before, we spent about 6 hours over the weekend in the backyard, about 4 on Sunday, doing some gardening. It's one of my favorite things to do. We have the Tower Garden, which has cilantro and eggplant and peppers and tomatoes. And we have raised beds, and some of the raised beds have collards and basil and more tomatoes and more peppers. And we have 2 beds that were just dormant, so we dug those beds up, and I planted some white potatoes in one, and in the other planted watermelon seeds and sunflowers to see if we can't get some pretty sunflower seeds coming up in a raised bed. So that'll be fun. Took a while. We have 3 or 4 lemongrass bushes that are just prolific. If anybody's had soups makes good lemongrass soup and teas. But they really, really get out of hand, and so I had to tackle those. And their leaves, I guess, the grass itself is just really, really sharp. So I kind of looked like I was tangling with a tiger a little bit, as far as my arms after getting those things chopped down. Today in class we had soy curls, and we did them in a barbecue. It's Addie's recipe. We call it pulled vork, vegan, not pork, but vegan. And so we had that. Questions that came up was, can we talk about soy a little bit? It's a recurrent fear of a lot of people. Soy curls are made by soaking a soybean, stretching it and dehydrating it. And so when you get it, it's in a package that, kind of looks like those Chinese fried crackers or fried noodles, but you just rehydrate these beans, and they're great in soups. They're great by themselves. I've made a beef stroganoff, but Addie came up with a kind of a pulled pork variety where we take them after they're are rehydrated and pulse them in a food processor, and then add our barbecue sauce that we make, and we serve those over collard greens. So soybeans, obviously, so it's really from a whole soybean. Tempeh is a soybean that is cooked and then fermented into a block, and tofu is soy milk that is coagulated. So very little processing on any of them. Obviously, the tempeh is fermented, so you have some more probiotics associated with it. The tofu is often coagulated with a calcium binder, so you have more calcium in tofu. Tofu and soy curls take up the flavor of the seasoning that you're using or the dish that you're using, probably a little bit more than the tempeh. The tempeh has a distinctive fermented flavor, but you can also, make it into a bacon or a Reuben or a barbecue. So there's a lot of different varieties that you can do with tempeh as well. But we used soy curls today. And as far as soy products, the soy contains a phytoestrogen or estrogen-like substance, so it is not estrogen. It blocks the estrogen receptor, so it's therefore protective. And it's been shown to decrease the recurrence of breast cancer, decrease the incidence of breast cancer, decrease the incidence of other hormonally driven cancers. So it is not a problem in people that are taking thyroid supplementation or thyroid replacement therapies. It needs to be spaced out. But again, I have yet to see anybody with a thyroid disorder eating, tofu at night and taking their Synthroid in the morning have a problem. So enjoy your soy, especially in that way. When you start doing soy isolates, when you start doing things that are, broken down, soy protein powders, then you're starting to really process and change the shape of the of the soy. So those are the processed form, the soy hot dogs, the soy isolate things. So I try to stick with either soy milk, tofu, tempeh, or the soy curls as my intake of soy, just because, or edamame and or soybeans, just because it's not processed as much. I want to stay as close to the soybean as I possibly can get. What we eat really affects our immune system. About 80% of our immune system lies in our gut, and the microbiome that we attain. And now more and more, we have more and more evidence that inflammation plays a big role in osteoarthritis. Inflammation plays a big role in cardiovascular disease. And inflammation also plays a role in a lot of cancers. And there was a study done in Nature magazine in this February that looked at cancer's ability to spread. And, when a cancer spreads either through locally, where it invades a tissue and goes, through the cell wall into the muscular layer and into the outside layer and invades locally, or it can go through the lymphatic system, or it goes often through the bloodstream. And when it goes through the bloodstream, you can actually measure some of these circulating tumor cells in blood samples. And there are some tests that are being developed that can actually determine if there are tumor cells before you can even see a tumor. But this particular study looked at how tumors seem to spread more if they stick together. And when they looked at what caused things to stick together and more likely to spread, it turns out it was white blood cells, specifically neutrophils. And neutrophils are a kind of white blood cells. And, it's very, very interesting that the immune system is involved, and specifically white blood cells with this expression. And they looked about expression of cytokines, interleukins, and interleukin-6. And these are substances that are elevated in people that eat an inflammatory diet, that have excess body weight. And again, depending on what you eat, depends on your immune activity. So, how the article was talking about ways that, maybe cancer could, the spread of cancer could potentially be decreased if we start to focus on these white cells. But I would say from a nutritional standpoint, perhaps, some of the way that plant-based nutrition helps cancer from spreading is that, it calms the immune system and it's not such an inflamed state. And when your body weight's normal, you're producing less of these chemicals that will stimulate the production of, again, these white cells and their precursors. So, just another reason to eat a whole food plant-based diet, to keep your weight under control, and exercise. Another study that was done in actually the March issue of Nature looked at a cancer cell's ability to use or make cholesterol and the association with cancer. And we know that cancer cells sometimes can't make cholesterol, but they need it to proliferate and to the cells to survive. And it's very interesting. One of the first sentences in this paper: cholesterol is a cell non-essential nutrient. In addition to being taken up from the environment, it can be synthesized from acetyl coenzyme A. And I think a lot of people get all bent out of shape thinking that you need to eat meat because we need cholesterol, and obviously we don't. And so these cancer cells, some of them, specifically some lymphomas that they're looking at, need cholesterol from an outside source to be able to propagate. So again, another reason that, obviously if you're not taking in animal products, you're not taking in cholesterol, and you're eating a low-fat diet, you're probably going to be less likely to have the proliferation of some of these cells. And again, in our conference, Dr. Goldhamer is going to be discussing his reversal of lymphomas with water-only fasting. So, a lot of the nutritional mechanisms on how some of the, how things work are starting to come to light. And, a lot of science journals are not really making the nutrition connection. Everybody, comes up with how can we stimulate these cells through drugs or targeted approaches through pharmacological means or stimulating the immune system or whatever we need to do. But it comes back to the food is very, very important. And, either promoting diseases or inhibiting diseases. So, if we don't eat animal products, we're not getting in cholesterol. If we have a low-fat diet and aren't eating a lot of, excessive amounts of nuts, we're not getting in a high plant fat that can be feeds the liver substrate to make cholesterol. All good. Not taking in a lot of oils, not making a lot of immune-mediated substances, making sure we do get our omega-3s through kale and pinto beans and hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds, a few walnuts. Again, will decrease the inflammation in our body. So all good things to think about when you're planning your nutrition each day. How is this going to help me? Not so much does, this is my craving, but how can this specifically help me? Because, I was tempted to say there's this, people say if it tastes good, don't eat it. That's the theory behind, low cholesterol diets. But, I could strongly argue against that point that I don't eat anything that doesn't taste good. And I look forward to each of my meals and it should taste wonderful and look good. So you're not being penalized for eating a healthy diet. You're being energized and your health is being improved, but also, your senses are being awakened by all the different things that you have to choose from. So, once again, a whole food, plant-based diet, very colorful. And, again, that's what we're going to demonstrate here in the next couple of days at our conference. And of course, before we cut this episode off, because I'm going to make it short today because I'm getting ready for the conference, there was the push-up study. Looked at adult men that were able to do push-ups. They came up with 1,104 working men, and they looked at their baseline push-up capacity and 10-year cardiovascular risk. They had to be 18 or older, and from 2000 to 2007, they looked at 5 groups and divided them into the number of push-ups they could do, and they used a metronome at 80 beats per minute, and if they missed 3 beats, then that's when they cut their number off. So men that could do 40 push-ups in a row, a significant decrease in all cardiovascular events. And the worst group, less than 10, specifically, there was the widest variation. So get out there and do your push-ups. 11 or more, and a metronome and 80 beats a minute to reduce cardiovascular events over a 10-year period. So start your push-ups and start doing them. Just because a study was done in men doesn't mean that women can't do them. Women typically have lower upper body strength, but it can be trained. One of the things that you can do is a negative push-up. So you just get yourself into great position, elbows back, and lower yourself down very slowly, and then get up and do it again. Certainly there's wall push-ups and there's push-ups for your knees, but, push yourself that you're out of your comfort zone a little bit. Do some every day. Another way to work up your push-ups is to do them in intervals. So you do 1 push-up, wait 10 seconds, and then you do 2 push-ups. You wait 10 seconds, then you do 3 push-ups, and you wait 10 seconds, and you do 4 push-ups, and you wait 10 seconds, and then 5. You can see it's going to get progressively harder. But this helps you to have a little break and increase your interval. When you get up to 20 push-ups, then you can increase the interval to 15 seconds or 20 seconds, and that also helps. So you can do different push-up series at different days. Planks also help you with your push-ups. So, get out there and do your push-ups. It's a wonderful way to build your upper arm strength. If you have a pull-up bar and a push-up and a floor to do push-ups on, it's great. It's also a great idea when you're trying to get your movement in every hour. You can always get up from your desk and do a couple push-ups. There's a book called Living with the SEAL by Jesse Itzler. And one of the things that the SEAL made him do was in his office to get down and do push-ups every once in a while. So, it's good for anybody at any time. So get up and do some push-ups. And if you start doing them every day, you'll want to do them. Trust me on that. You'll want to get up and do them. So do your push-ups every day and be fit. Please come and see me at the conference this Saturday, March 30th from 8:30 till 4 o'clock. Breakfast and lunch, great speakers, great food, cooking demo. Here in Punta Gorda, the weather's going to be 80 degrees and sunny. Who could ask for anything more? You can go running and paddleboarding and kayaking the next day. So get your ticket on eventbrite.com or go to the drdulaney.com to get your ticket and get a seat. Thank you for listening. I'll give you all the juicy updates if you're unable to make it on next week's podcast. Thanks for listening.